says, or thrashing grain. I'm assuming that that wine vat was like they use over in, or wine press was like they use over in Italy, a big old vat, you know, maybe up this high or so, made out of boards with a little hole down at the bottom of it, and they put a couple of peasant gals with clean feet in there, jumping up and down on the grapes, mashing the juice out of the bottle. But all these midnights, usually if you were going to thresh grain, you'd get up on a hill where you could beat it against the ground and throw it up in the air so the wind would blow the shaft out of his way and the grain would fall back down. But he didn't want to be up on a hill where everybody could see him, because those people come and take what he eats. You know what I mean? Take what he's got to eat. Take his grain. So he climbed over in this vat, and he's in this wine press threshing the grain. So he's hidden. And an angel of the Lord came down and sat down out there under a tree waiting on him to look up. I just see old Gideon down there hiding, you know, and he looks up over there. There's a guy sitting over there in the tree. And he knew it was somebody special, because he called him the Lord right off the bat. Now, he might not have known right off the bat if he was the angel of the Lord, but he knew he was somebody special. Whenever he talked to him, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." And Gideon said, "But sir, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all the wonders that our fathers told us about when they said, 'Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt?' But now the Lord has abandoned us and put us in the hand of Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" Gideon, he's still trying to figure this out. He knows this is somebody special. He says, "But Lord, how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites together." Well, Gideon knows that this is somebody special. It may be, because the angel of the Lord all through the Old Testament and in the New Testament sometimes appears to people. In Acts, when he appeared to the Roman centurion and told him to go send some messengers and get Peter, he needed to talk to Peter. He described him as being glowing, have luminous clothes on and shining clothes. So he knew this was somebody special. He may have been dressed the same way that we would, or Brother Bill, or somebody, but I don't know about that Hawaii flowered shirt. But he had a countenance about him, a glow. He was a little bit unearthly, and he recognized it right off the bat that he was something special. And Gideon recognized this angel as being something special, but he wasn't real sure. He had those doubts that every one of us as humans have, and he said, "You know, I hear what you're saying, and I want to believe you, but could you show me a sign? You know, give me a sign." He said, "I'll tell you what, stay right here, and I'll go prepare an offering, because if this is God or an emissary from God, he certainly didn't want to fail in his duty to prepare an offering." So he went and got a young goat, built some unleavened bread, brought it back. The angel was waiting on him. He said, "Put her right there on this rock." He put her on the rock. The angel took his staff and reached out there and touched it and burst into flames. Gideon said, "Ooh." Gideon scared him because he thought he'd come face to face with God. And what happened if you came face to face with God? He died. Yeah. But he said, "Don't worry about it, Gideon. You're not face to face with God. I'm just his messenger." It was an angel of God. That same night, let me get back over here on my notes. That same night, Gideon's in there sleeping. The Lord comes to him in vision, sound, and tells him to take his father's second bull, or his mature bull, 7-year-old bull, and tear down that altar to Baal that his father has and that Asherah pole, and build a proper altar, I get it spit out in a minute, altar to God, and put the bull on it as a burnt offering. Well, Gideon's got some doubts about that too, because his people, all his family in that town, his relatives and everybody there, worshiping these idols rather than the Lord. Now, they know who the Lord is. I mean, their fathers have told them, God has brought you up out of Egypt. He told them about that's part of their legend, about all the wonderful things that Moses has done for them, and the wonders that he performed, and the miracles that he performed when he led them through the wilderness. But what are they doing? Worshiping idols. Got some idols out there. So Gideon, he's a little bit hesitant about that, but he gathered up some of his buddies, actually their servants according to my Bible, and they went and got his father's bull and tied onto that altar and pulled it down. They pulled down that totem pole. I'm assuming that's what an Asherah pole is, got gods on it. Looked similar to a totem pole, I think. And he built a fire out of it. Slaughtered that bull and put on it. But he did it at night because he didn't want anybody to see. But somebody's always looking, isn't it? Always somebody figures out. And he had 10 servants with him, and I'm sure they're not all that quite closed-mouthed. So the people of the town found out about it, found out that he did it. When they came out the next day and their idol was torn down, they came to Joash, his father, and this was kind of interesting to me, and they told him, they said, bring Gideon out, we're going to get him, we're going to kill him and all this, he's tore down our idol. And his dad, Joash, and actually it says in my Bible anyway, that this altar, Baal, was his father's. But he knew enough about God that he might ought to get straight, I think, and he was a pretty good politician, one, because he stood up and said, hey, wait a minute. Said, you're after my boy for tearing down that idol. If Baal is really a true God, can't he take care of his own business? You know, can't he take care of that guy that tore down his idol? And it kind of got the people to thinking, and they said, you know, I guess he could. Let Baal contend with him. And so that's a nickname that they gave Gideon, but I'm still going to use Gideon because that's easier for me to say. Now about this time, the Midianites and the Amalekites came raiding, right? They came across the Jordan River. They camped down there in the field or plain of Jereel, if I said that correctly. And I was going to look to see Jereel. And the Lord's telling Gideon, he says, you got to get ready and go fight them. I told you he's going to take care of them, he's going to deliver them. Gideon still got those doubts, doesn't he? Wait a minute, Lord, I really need a sign from you. You know, I hear what you're saying. I'd really like to go out there and fight, but, you know, I'm not real sure I'm understanding what you're telling me. You know, he said, I tell you what, Lord, he's praying to God. He said, I tell you what, Lord, said, if I take this piece of wool and I throw it down here on this threshing floor, if I get up in the morning and that floor is dry, but that wool is wet with water from the dew, I'll take that as a sign. Sure enough, next morning, the floor is dry. He squeezed a whole bowl full of water out of that piece of wool. It was saturated. Well, you know, might have just been the atmospheric pressure, the humidity. You know, I'm not sure that was everything. I tell you what, Lord, yeah, don't be mad at me, but, you know, if I get up in the morning and that wool is dry and that floor is soaking wet, I really know that you're talking to me. Well, what happened? Got up the next morning, and it says he said it. Wool was dry, the floor was soaking wet. So Gideon went to calling those folks. He said, man, I've got to rustle up some people. So he sent messengers out. He blew the trumpet. He started gathering up some people, and it surprised me that 32,000 people came to help Gideon because he was a beast in his tribe, you know. But 32,000 came. Now, you know, if you read on over there a little bit further, you see that there's about 135,000 of those Midians and Amalekites. So the odds wasn't real great with 32,000 against 135,000. But anyway, the Lord looked out through there and he said, told Gideon, said, that's too many. Too many folks. Tell all of them that's scared not to be worried about it. If they're a little bit frightened, tell them to go on home. How many left? Somebody's reading along. 22,000 of them. 22,000 of them. It wasn't bashful. They didn't want to fight. They went home. Gideon's got 10,000 men. He wakes up and the Lord's whispering in his ear and says, that's still too many. Still too many. He said, get out there and put them through some maneuvers, walk them around a little bit, let them go down the river, and I'll sort them out for you. Of course, you all have heard that story. They got down there at the river after they'd been working out a little bit. There's some of them flopped down on their belly and went sucking water, and there's some of them kind of kneeled down. They'd get them a handful and keep their eyes looking around. He said, those are the ones I want. Those that's alert, those that's watching. How many of them was there? 300. 300 against 135,000. Now, you talk about some odds. That's one against about 450, but that's kind of what the Lord wanted. He wanted people to say, this is my work. This is not the work of man. And whenever you get those kind of odds, you think about it a little bit, and you have to believe that's the case. But he knew Gideon was still scared, and Gideon still had doubts because he is a very ordinary man, just about like all of us. And I would certainly be scared if I had 300 guys out there and I'm going up against 135,000. So the Lord said, I tell you what, I know you're still worried. Take your servant, slip down there to their camp tonight. And there is boo-koodles of them down there. There was it says the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the other people had settled into the valley as thick as locusts. Their camels could no more be counted than the sand on the seashore. So there was a bunch of them. But Gideon and his servants slipped down there that night, and they heard a couple of those guards talking, and they were scared to death. They were scared to death of Gideon. Here he is, an ordinary person, that him himself is scared of them, and he gets down there and finds that they're scared of him. Takes those 300 men, tells them to put a torch inside an earthen jar and take a trumpet. And it doesn't say anything about weapons. They may not even carry one. I don't know. But they surrounded them at night. They broke open those earthen jars where the light would shine. They blew the trumpets, and they said, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Screaming it out, hooping and hollering. The Midianites were already scared of them. They already had rumors going through their camp that the Lord was with Gideon. They could not defeat him. Whenever that happened, they started boiling out of their tents. They didn't have uniforms. They didn't have searchlights like we've got now. They started boiling out of their tents, and every time you walk out of the tent, you'd see somebody coming at you in the dark. They shot an arrow into him, or whacked him with a sword, or whatever. Fighting themselves. Fighting themselves. You get 135,000 men hemmed up in one place, and they're all scared. Somebody throws fear into them in the middle of the night. You can see how that could happen. Then they broke and started running. They took off across, well, let me see where I'm at on my notes. They headed out back home, and there was a pass over there on the Jordan River. Gideon sent message to the men of Ephraim and said, head those guys off. And they headed them off. They didn't stop them. Some of them got through. But they did capture the two main generals, Oreb and Zeb. And Gideon and his 300 men are still chasing them. Now they're down to about 15,000 men now. So what is 300 divided by 15,000? 51. Odds is a whole lot better than 451. Gideon and his guys are about to give plumb out. He stops at a little town called Sukkot and asks for some supplies, some nourishment, some food. People turned him down. Wouldn't let him get anything. Of course, they just seen 15,000 people riding camels, blowing through, and probably Gideon and his men were on foot, and they were getting awfully tired. They were a pretty good ways back. And they were afraid that whenever Gideon caught up with them, that 15,000 would turn around and whoop them, and then they'd come back and punish the town for giving him supplies. So they went to another little nearby town, Peniel, if I pronounced that correctly. They wouldn't give me any supplies either. Gideon said, I will be back. I will be back. Kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Bill be back.